Begin with, let me preface this interview by saying that I hold Mr. Cyrus Mistry in high personal regard. But this is not about people. What we are talking about is about institutions and about the future of institutions. So, during this interview, I would like to focus on the institution of the Tata Group, on the companies of the Tata Group, and on the future of the companies of the Tata Group. Insofar as the TCS EGM is concerned, the results are in the public domain for everyone to see. I do not have access to data of how individual shareholders voted, but all I'd like to say is that the resolution was approved by a large majority of shareholders. And what I'd like to say is that Mr. Ratan Tata, as interim chairman of Tata Sons, has reached out to all our shareholders with a letter which has been addressed by him personally. Tata Sons have posted an appeal to all shareholders of operating companies in which Tata Sons has an investment and which are coming up for an EGM. So I'm sure that each of our shareholders, whether they are retail shareholders or institutional shareholders, will consider the contents of those appeals, the contents of those letters, and will do what is right.
In fact, TCS is more of an exception here, given the kind of shareholding that Tatas have in the Tata consultancy. But compared to a 73-74% that you hold in TCS, your holding in other Tata companies is only in the region of 30%. So, in some ways, is there a very clear message that you either take stronger grip of the companies or you tighten your governance standards?
See, Abhinav, the key message here, and I think the key reason for these resolutions is really that Tata Sons believes that the presence of Mr. Mistry as a director on the boards of these companies will be dysfunctional and will be disruptive. You have seen that that is also contained in the letter that Mr. Tata has written to all shareholders. So this resolution is actually confined to that fact. Tata Sons has been a very beneficial promoter to these companies. Operating companies of the Tata Group have gained beneficially and handsomely by being part of the Tata Group for so many decades and so many years. Tata Sons has provided to these companies under license the Tata brand name, which is the most trusted brand name in the country today. The ability of operating companies of the Tata Group, including TGBL, which I am the chairman of, to attract and retain talent of the highest caliber, has also to a large extent been driven by the fact that we are part of the Tata Group. There are many benefits that the operating companies of the Tata Group have gained, continue to gain, and will gain in the future by being part of the Tata Group. So all I would like to say here is that Tata Sons, as a primary promoter company, understands its responsibilities and will continue to provide very strong benefits and assurance to these companies of the group.
Harish, while I take your point that hostility between the chairman and the promoter company is not in the best interest of the shareholders, but speaking to some of the shareholders of TCS, for example, I get a feeling that they still are not convinced that there is a compelling reason to oust Mistry, especially on the performance front. What do you have to say to that? Because at the end of the day, he is also taking performance into account.
See, each shareholder reaches his or her own conclusion. But I must go back to a statement that I read in the newspapers, which was made by an independent director at the TCS EGM, which is really that loss of confidence goes well beyond performance. Loss of confidence is a larger issue, and that's an issue that all of us who are shareholders of companies have to reckon with.
Harish, you've worked very closely with Cyrus. I mean, you know the way he functions, his performance parameters. I mean, have you ever seen him found wanting on the performance front? I take your point that it's nothing to do with performance here, but non-performance was an issue that was discussed the time he was removed from Tata Sons.
See, I have worked closely with Mr. Cyrus Mistry, and as I have told you at the beginning of this interview, I hold him in high personal regard. What I'd like to say is that I was a member of his group executive council. There were specific roles allocated to me on the group executive council, which were to do with customer centricity, which were to do with the helping incubation of some of our new companies, which were to do with providing marketing support where required, which were to do with being on the boards of some of our operating companies. And I believe that on those roles, I interacted very closely with him, and we had a good relationship working together. Insofar as his overall performance is concerned, that's a matter which has been discussed in the public domain for a long time now. There have been many media statements made on it, and I do not wish to comment further on it at this stage.
But don't you think the way the whole issue has panned out, I mean, this should have been handled a lot better. I mean, from both sides. Because what is the point in washing dirty linen in public? And that's exactly what is happening over the last 7 weeks.
It has been a difficult situation for all of us, and I would say that we would like to put this difficult situation behind us and move on to a situation where we are very focused on profitable growth in the future in each of our operating companies. What I am very happy about, and what I think I feel very proud about, is that notwithstanding the situation that you have seen over the last few weeks, operating companies of the Tata Group, which are led by very competent professional managers and which have very competent boards of directors, have actually forged ahead in the marketplace with their customers in terms of launching new products, in terms of launching new services, in terms of employees of the Tata Group companies remaining very focused on the work that they have to do. And I would like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the managements of our operating companies, to the employees of our operating companies, all our team members, indeed to the boards of our operating companies, for having maintained that very, very sharp focus on business as usual, on ensuring that consumers get the best quality of products and services that we provide to them at all times. If you ask me, is this a situation we would like to put behind us and move on? Of course, no doubt about that.
Harish, coming to the series of EGM starting next week, I mean, just trying to understand, for example, when it comes to Tata Motors, we have already seen Tata's making their intent clear. They've increased, Tata Sons has increased stake in Tata Motors by 1.78%. I mean, pumping in almost 2,500 crore. Is this something that you think will get played out in other Tata companies as well, given the kind of modest shareholding that Tatas have?
I cannot comment on that. That's a decision for Tata Sons to take. I cannot comment on that in this interview.
And when it comes to the operating companies, we know that Tatas want Mr. Mistry removed from each of the operating companies. But why is there no urgency to remove him from Tata Sons? Because at the end of the day, is it also because that given that he is a large stakeholder there, the minority shareholder protection will become a thing which will play in his favor?
Listen, that's a decision for the board of Tata Sons to take. I am not in a position to comment on that, and I don't think I should comment on it either.
Well, coming to the Tata Trust, because I mean, at the end of the day, many of the problems that have started, some would say, was also because of the fact that this is for the first time during Cyrus Mistry's tenure, did we have a Tata Sons chairman who was not heading the trust? I mean, do you think this in a way led to some of the problems?
The Tata Trusts have a very, very rich heritage of contributing to the community and contributing to the nation. They have been in the midst of this very long voyage, very fulfilling voyage for several decades now, and the Tata Trusts continue to remain focused on that voyage. In the Tata Group, you have the Tata Trusts who have very clearly this philanthropic focus. And then you have Tata Sons, which as a pioneering company has helped set up many, many operating companies over the past several decades. And then you have the operating companies themselves, which are very focused on performance. So I think in terms of strategic focus, the focus of the trust, the focus of Tata Sons, and the focus of the operating companies is very, very clear and distinct from each other.
I was reading an interview with Mr. Krishna Kumar where he says that Tata Trusts have invested something like $41 billion in the listed Tata companies. I mean, all I'm trying to understand is is it a dangerous mix of charity and business? Because somewhere are the lines drawn properly? Because I don't know, some were questioning the very premise of that.
I think, as I told you a little earlier, I think Tata Trusts have a very rich and positive legacy, a very, very fulfilling voyage that they have delivered to the nation and the community at large. I think we should step back a little bit and look at the wonderful work which the Tata Trusts have been doing across this country for the last several decades. That is really the bigger picture. And that, I think, has benefited the nation and benefited the community immensely.
Absolutely. I completely take your point about the contribution that the Tata Trusts have had on the community per se. But one question that keeps coming up is because of the nature of the shareholding. So what happens is many of the price sensitive information gets flown to trustees, gets flown to Tata Sons, which may not be in the as per the SEBI insider trading norms. I mean, this is a question that has been raised by Harish Mistry in the past, and more so yesterday we interviewed one of the independent directors of Tata Power, Nazir Mirza, and he's exactly pointed to this fact when it comes to the Welspun deal. Looking back, my point is whether things should be structured a little differently, whether it is time for the trusts and the whole ownership to change.
See, Abhinav, I don't want to comment on individual deals or individual operating companies, particularly operating companies where I am not on the boards of. Okay, I would not be privy to the discussions which happen on those boards, and even if I am on those boards, I respect the confidentiality of the boardroom. I would not like to comment on what happens inside a boardroom. Having said that, let me assure you that the Tata Group, Tata Sons, have always been committed to the highest standards of corporate governance in everything that we do. That is indeed one of the reasons that investors put their trust in us. That is indeed one of the reasons that consumers put their trust in us. And all I want to tell you is that Tata Sons has been and will continue to be committed to those highest standards of corporate governance. That means everything to us, because the Tata brand is a brand that is respected for the trust that it kind of evokes in people, and that trust is based on the excellent quality of the products and services we provide, but equally that trust is based on the highest standards of corporate governance. Having said that, I would not like to go beyond that and comment on specific individual matters which concern specific operating companies. It won't be right on my part to do that.
Yeah, because even Mr. Tata is stepping down from the Tata Trust as chairman. That's what Mr. Krishna Kumar has said. So that should put some things into perspective here. Essentially, because there was always this concern that since he headed the trust, there was some control that he was exercising on Tata Sons, even though he was gone from there and when Cyrus was heading Tata Sons. To that extent, is it in the right way? I mean, is it one way to address the situation?
See, I think who the chairman of the Tata Trust should be is a matter for the Tata Trust to decide. All I know is that the boards of each of our operating companies are independent boards. They are run by very, very competent directors, both non-independent and independent directors. Similarly, Tata Sons itself has a board which is composed of very competent, very reputed people who take decisions within the boardroom. And I have to respect the competence and the independence of each of these boards. These are boards which debate, discuss, deliberate on specific matters which come up before them and reach conclusions between the board of directors. So I have to respect all our directors, and I want to say, I told you this on our previous interview as well, and I want to re-emphasize it, that I am very, very proud of the non-independent directors and the independent directors whom our boards are composed of. They bring so much value to the table. I have seen so many issues being discussed and deliberated with great amount of insight, with great amount of focus. And I'm sure that happens in every single board.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.